Howdy, here's Bonnie with a quick ad. I started podcast recording. What I missed from the beginning was a platform that allowed me to record my interviews with my guests in a way that gives me complete overview over the entire situation, over the audio quality, video quality, internet connection. And exactly after 3 years of podcasting, I finally found my platform to record on. It's called Zencaster. It's so easy to record a podcast on Zencaster. Log in using your browser and start recording a high quality podcast right away. Record studio quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of Zen, knowing Zencaster's multi-layer backups ensure you always have your recordings in highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. All you have to do is go to zencaster.com/pricing, that's spelled zencastr.com/pricing, and use my code BonniesLegends, that's BONNIESLEGENDS, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencaster pay plan. I want you to have the same easy experience as I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Howdy, here's Bonnie, and welcome to another episode of Bonnie's Legends. Today's interview features Googly Eyes, aka Deza, and I actually interviewed Deza as one of the very first features of a Pretty New Music. Like, I've done Bonnie's Legends for 2 years, and then I graduated high school, and I didn't want to stop interviewing people, but I also didn't have the time to run the podcast, so I switched over to written blog posts, and that's where I interviewed Deza in email form about her music. And yeah, so she has a new project. Well, yeah, you can call it new. Googly Eyes, which started out as a kind of back burner account for her to send off her demos for her fans to listen to. And in this interview as well, she touches on how it's not really anymore about the demos. It's really freedom of expression. And I'm very glad she found that in Googly Eyes. And I love Googly Eyes. I love all the little EPs she puts out. And yeah, so in this episode we talked about her latest release, which is today, a month old, and it's the EP 22 to 25. And yeah, we talked about her favorite song, we talked about the production process behind it, which she has done all on her own. And yeah, I hope you have fun. As always, if you like this episode, you can subscribe. Every Wednesday I'm releasing an episode of a creative, where we talk about creativity and the process behind it. And then also every Saturday I am putting out a music episode. Like, I'm having artists coming onto the podcast talking about the music. And actually full circle, because Deza has been one of my first features of our Pretty New Music. Tomorrow I am releasing the first edition of a new feature, which kind of goes back to the roots of our Pretty New Music. It's kind of a mini interview in written form, so it comes out on our Substack, which you can find under bonnieslegends.substack.com. And yeah, I have Kai Bosch on there about his latest single funny. And so the feature is called Oh Funny by Kai Bush. And yeah, subscribe to that as well if you feel like it. And yeah, let's dive into the episode. Have fun listening. And we're on air.
Woohoo!
Well, dear listeners, I have Deza with me. You have a bunch of names. How should I call you?
I know at this point it's too many at this point. Yeah, Deza is great. And then my other
Okay.
project is Googly Eyes, and there's 8
Yes.
billion names around that, but
Yeah. And your real name is Bethany, right?
yes. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, you added it to my calendar and I was like,
I
okay,
never know. I
cool.
always like build relationships with people, and then we'll be friends for like a significant amount of time, and then I'll have to reveal to them that Deza is not my real name, and it throws
Yes.
people for a loop. So I'm just trying to be
Yes.
upfront.
Yes. I have that issue. I have that issue because Bonnie's not my real name.
No.
And then they're like,
You
what?
know.
Bonnie's not. Yeah. I started dating someone last fall and they only knew me from Bonnie. And we met.
That's
But like, I went to his place and then he was like, so your name's not Bonnie. Like, we have a common friend. And they knew that. And they kind of told him that. And he was kind of pissed that I didn't
no
tell him. And
way.
I was like, Bonnie's like my real name as well. So like,
You're like, they
I
all
didn't
count.
care.
That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
exactly. Yeah. So I was like, well, that's giving me a good impression.
You're like off to a great start.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't work out. I should have seen it back then.
The signs were there.
Yeah. And my mom's always confused because she's like always like, so do people who date you call you Bonnie? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, I didn't give you that name
It's like, that was
by
not my
birth.
intention, but we'll let
Yes.
it slide. Same with my mom, honestly. Sometimes she'll refer to me as Deza, and it's like, whoa. And then it starts to get real weird. I'm like, you can't do that.
Yes. That's so weird if family members are like Bonnie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah. So I get the name confusion. All fine, all good.
Uh,
Yeah, we're here because of Googly Eyes because you released a new
yes.
EP. I mean, you can call it an EP. It's 4 tracks. It's 22 to 25.
Yeah.
Got that in my mind. Memorize it. And it's been honestly everything like I've been listening to. Like, I've not been listening to music today, but like since it came out, I've just been listening to it. I've
Thank
started
you
my
so
day on
much.
Friday of that. And since
That's
then I
the
just
highest honor. Thank you so much.
yeah, you're welcome. I'm really obsessed with it. I'm like already can like like I already have the lyrics memorized and stuff like that. And
Wow, that's advanced. Honestly, good for you. I'm loving that.
thank you, thank you. Well, I'm a big lyrics fan anyway, so like
Mm,
that's the first thing. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So how did the release go so far? How are you
You
feeling?
know, it's been super fun. I think like it was a little chaotic. I had like Googly Eyes is such a hot mess in the best of ways, I think, for me. So
Yeah.
like I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants and just moving with what feels good. And so like which also means I make a lot of mistakes. And so I had like uploaded the wrong master for something. And so there was
Um.
like chaos in with my like distributor. So like that side of the release being done is great
Mm.
because it was a little chaotic to get here,
Yeah.
but it's felt great. I mean, it's like the songs are so timely for me always, and so it feels good to move quickly. Like I'm
Yeah.
glad they're out because honestly, like it's where I'm at in life, and I just want that to be out in the world too. So
Nice. Yeah. I sometimes feel like that with poems. Like I'm releasing a poetry collection right now, and it's all poetry I've written when I was 17. So it feels very like tiring talking about it and on because I've
mm,
wrote a poem last night and I would love to talk about that one.
it is the curse of creatives. I mean, number one, that's
Yes.
so cool that you're releasing a poetry book. That's like
Thank
so
you.
fantastic. Which also means you're definitely a lyric girly, which I love.
Yes,
But yeah,
exactly.
it's just like it's hard as creatives because like we're only as I don't know. I personally feel like I'm only as authentic as the last thing I made. So it's strange to
Yes.
like reach back and try and talk about things. But I try to remind myself, I'm like, I'm honoring the version of me that made this. I'm honoring the version of me that made
Yes,
this, which can be
exactly.
tough. It can be tough.
Yeah. Yeah. I wrote once a letter. So I wrote a novel when I was 16.
Oh,
I'm an author. Yeah, there you
it's
go.
amazing. It's amazing.
And I published that one last year, but before like that release was so chaotic
Oof.
because like I had to edit it and then other people edited it and then I figured out it's like I thought it was just fictional, but then it turned out like the divorce of my parents really traumatized me. So
We,
so it was like therapy as well. And
yeah.
so one day I just sat down and I wrote a letter to my 60-year-old self, like being like,
Oh,
so do you want this color for the cover or because I was so
that's,
overwhelmed.
wait, that's so
And
sweet
then yeah.
though.
Yeah, I
What
didn't get
a,
an answer.
no, but that's such a great way to like reconnect yourself to
Yeah.
like the version of you that
Yes.
made it. Because truly that's like what it's about. So yeah, I love that idea a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. Maybe, for next time.
Totally.
um yeah, so I already said before I pressed record. I interviewed you before via email. That
Yeah,
was when I first started out with Opinion New Music, which is the music section of my podcast.
that's amazing.
And you're now already episode 22.
Whoa, that's crazy. How does it feel?
Good. A
Yeah.
lot of work. A lot
I'm
of work
sure.
if you think about it. So many hours, but
Yeah,
I mean, it's worth it. That's like really interesting.
that's amazing.
I have a really interesting relationship with my podcast because I sometimes
Yeah.
forget that I'm doing it because I talk with people about my books
Mm.
and then they, look me up and they're like, oh my God, you have a music podcast and like you interviewed Chappell Roan and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I guess so.
You're like,
Yeah.
that's part of it, I guess.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, so it feels good. It feels good.
That's
Especially
awesome.
now that I have different sections because I also like I'm still interviewing other creators,
Yeah.
but I love musicians and I love music and so I needed a section for that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And okay, before we dive into googly eyes in the EP, which we already started talking, but like whatever. I have the bonus lessons check, which are 4 questions, and they're like basic questions just to break the ice. Not that I think we have to break ice, but
Let's get it. I'm into it.
nice. Okay, so the first question is name, pronouns, and your birthday.
My name is Deza. My pronouns are she, her, and my birthday is January 6th. I'm a
Nice.
Capricorn baby.
Nice. You have birthday with my brother.
I love I love birthday buddies. They're my favorite. They're my favorite people.
Yeah. Just remember, I was like, where do I know the date from? And I was like, oh, my brother, my beloved brother.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Nice. I love that. So you just had birthday. Happy
Yes.
belated birthday.
Thank you so much. Thank
A
you.
month later, but there
Yeah.
you
It
go.
counts. Counts.
Yes, exactly. I call this podcast Funny Sessions because I want to interview people I look up to and feel inspired by. And so, who would you say is your legend?
Oof. At the moment, it's so funny because it changes a lot. I feel like at the moment, probably Caroline
Yeah.
Polachek. For
Oh,
a long
yes.
time, it was John Bellion. He was up there. So they're definitely or Lord. Truly, probably those are like
Hmm.
the three at the moment.
Yeah, nice. I missed out on the chance to watch Caroline live. I'm so mad at it. I was at Primavera in Barcelona last year
That's
and
amazing.
I completely missed that she was performing.
There's too many
It's
things
the
going on
big,
at those festivals.
yeah, honestly, biggest regret of my life not having gone to that.
Oh,
um, yeah, my Roman Empire.
yeah, I love that.
It's like I was there, and I was not there, but like I
Mm.
was there. So
You're like, I was so
yeah,
close.
I was so close. Yeah, so I love that. Um, okay, you're throwing a dinner party. Invite anyone, dead or alive, or abandoned crew. Who would you invite?
Oh, that's so good. Wait. Well, I probably would do Ella Fitzgerald.
Yeah,
Truthfully, I feel like some jazz legends would be such a crazy cool thing because I just think The stories that they have must be incredible. That sounded like
Mm.
pretentious, but I think that was the
No,
first
no, I
person
got
that
it.
comes to mind.
No, I got it. I got it. I graduated high school with jazz music, so
Oh,
there you go.
I love.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm sometimes thinking, you know, how nowadays every big pop star or like big musician is putting out a biography at some point,
Yeah.
and like I'm totally fine with it, but like imagine if that would have been like the standard for like in the 50s or 60s. Like
I
imagine.
can't. I just can't. I bet I bet the stories they have out of them is crazy, but almost the mystery of it is something special
Mm,
too, I think. So,
right, yeah. Stays a secret.
yeah.
We can all just write fan fictions about it. Okay, and last question of the check. If you could go back in time, oh, this is quite matching. If you could go back in time, what would you say to your 16-year-old self?
Oh, oh, I would tell her to relax, I think. I think
Yeah.
she had such a urgent ambition. Honestly, this ties in a lot to Googly Eyes too. Like I think if I was able to soften my ambition earlier into a form that was healthier, I would have been better off. I don't think 16-year-old me would understand, but I
Yeah.
think I would try and be like, hey, it's gonna be fine. Like it's not that big a deal. Just like
Yeah.
take a couple deep breaths. You're gonna get dumped. It's gonna be fine. Like you know what I mean? Like I don't know. I think
Yeah.
I have a lot of empathy for that version of myself, and I'd probably just tell her to chill out.
Yeah. Honestly, that's I think every single person who has given me an answer to this question is similar to that. It's like calm down, relax, like don't worry, don't
You want the
care what
world
other
when you're
people think.
16, man.
Yeah.
You want
Yeah.
everything, and you have the stamina to do it, but not none of the knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Honestly. You have the attitude, but you don't really necessarily know which path to go down with that attitude.
100%, 100%.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. You already started talking about googly eyes, and I think we've mentioned it for the fifth time now. But yeah, so you're making music
Yeah,
as Deza as well. And then you started googly eyes, you think around 1 or 1.5 years ago. Am I
yeah, just
right?
about. Yeah,
Nice. Do you want to talk about why you made the switch? Where
yeah,
you've been coming from musically?
totally. I mean, I've been releasing music as Deza since 2018, and I think I released the last thing I released as Deza was this huge project that was like 12 songs, and it was just this monster of a thing. And I got to the end of it, and I was so disappointed in myself, I think, more than anything, about what I had let that project do to me. And so I knew that I needed a way back into making music because making things as Deza didn't really feel good anymore.
Mm.
For a myriad of reasons, I think. But like I knew I needed to start something else. So it's funny because my friend Rachel Bachner was like in LA at the time, and I was, we were talking it over, and I was just saying, I don't know what to do. I think I should start a side project. Like, I think I should try something else. Because I do think also, as a side note, there does come a point where, like, the maturity of a project no longer works in its favor. If
Mm.
you've been Deza for 10 years, it's like, why has that not quote unquote worked, And so
Mm.
it might be time to reevaluate. And I had been studying up on people like Caroline Polachek, who went from chairlift, and people like Joji, who came from another genre almost entirely, and like studying all these artists who had pivoted pretty much. I mean, Lana
Yeah.
Del Rey had started out as her own true name. So all that said, I think like I needed a way back into music. I needed it to be pressureless. I needed it to be um, in my control 100%. And so I started Googly Eyes, and it's all music that I make 100% myself. I get to control it from the start to the finish, for better or for worse, um, but they stay fossilized in the form that I like them in, which I think is something special. That didn't always happen with Deza.
Nice.
You would hand something you produced off to a mixer or a masterer, and you would end up with a extremely polished version that was beautiful, but it always lost a bit of the sparkle for me. And so it's nice to kind of create pieces that are exactly as I intend them to be. So yeah, that's googly
Nice.
eyes in a long form answer, I guess.
Yeah, no. Yeah, yeah, city sickness was massive. Like,
Crazy.
just witnessing it felt like, wow.
Oh man,
Like,
that is the epitome of me biting off more than I can chew. Like so truly. It was such a terrible idea for my mental health. It was so bad. I'm proud of it, and I think
yes,
the more
you should
distance I
be.
get from it, thank you. I think I'll continue to be proud of it, but it's like I'm glad that that period of my life is over for sure, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It was interesting because I saw you kind of doing this concept of like putting out a single per week and
Mm.
kind of promoting it and then putting it all together. Sorry to trauma to
No, I've
remind.
just forgot that I was doing it at that rate. I don't know who let me do that. I don't know why anybody wasn't. Well, I'm sure people tried to be like, hey, maybe don't. And I
Yeah,
was like, nah, I'm going to do it anyways.
it was a really interesting concept, and I saw so many like I witnessed like two other artists doing it after that, which
Mm.
was interesting because I felt like you had put on, but it was just from my perspective of the internet, right? Like someone else could have done it before you, but for me it was like, wow, Dessa had done this immense project, and now like two others are following her.
Hey,
I
that's
really like that.
amazing. I'm here for the pace of it. I really am. Googly eyes, that's the nice thing. I think googly, I'm trying to maintain the pace, but
Yes.
in a different kind of way, which is nice.
Yes, I like that. So yeah, tell me about googly eyes. What's the concept behind it? I know like you um kind of name your EPs after like the track number of
Yeah.
the one you release. So at this point you already released like 25 tracks, which is just
You know what's funny is I literally like not me telling my 16-year-old self to relax and then do absolutely not relaxing into my young adulthood. That's hilarious. No, but googly eyes is like I said, it's this project where I get to do it 100% myself. And so I think at its
yeah.
core, that's the concept at the moment. Not that I wouldn't, I would be down to let somebody in maybe at a later date, but right now I'm excited for it to be just mine.
Yeah.
And it started out more so as like just a place to put my demos, which is why a lot of those early ones
Right.
are titled demo. Because I was like, oh, these aren't finished. And, if I'm mixing them, I should call them a demo because I'm not a great mix engineer. And then at some point I was like, fuck it. Like I
Mm,
I'm making music and it is in the form it is. And I'm just gonna release this out. And so
hell yeah.
it's nice to kind of like just move freely. I don't need a grand plan. I don't need um, you know, 5-year goals. I just want to make things as I move through the world and let the world have them at least in a close range to the time I'm feeling those things.
Yeah, exactly what we talked about in the beginning, right? Full
Yeah.
circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. And yeah, it just I think when you started out with Googly Eyes, it just really inspired me in a way because, as I said, I have so many poems. And I mean, releasing this poetry collection now and talking about my 17-year-old self, like, why not? But, like, yeah, it really inspired me to just, like, the comes of, like, I sometimes realize that when I keep things to myself and I keep writings that are good to
Mm,
myself and not share with the public because I don't know, I'm worried that the person I wrote this about is reading this, blah, 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 blah.
yeah.
It becomes such a burden in a way. And, like,
Oof.
and then when I release it, like almost when I release it immediately,
Mm.
it's just out there in the world and I'm proud of it, but it's not becoming this almost like it's almost a burden because I'm carrying it on my own
Yeah.
and I'm not sharing it with the public. So that's
Totally. I mean, I think like there's really something to that for the creative brain. And like,
yeah.
I kind of err on the side of moving too quickly. I think that's very obvious. Like there is um
Yeah.
it's great to like format a project and think it through, but I think it's so freeing as a creative to like allow yourself to share things in progress. I've always felt that
Yes.
way. And I think if you're a creative that works quickly like I do, where like I'm
Yeah.
sitting on probably 100 more like googly ideas that
Yeah.
aren't out. Like it's funny because like 25 is a lot for like the time span, but like when I think about what I've made,
Mm.
it's such a small sample size of like
Yeah.
small selection of that bigger chunk. And so I don't know, it's really freeing to just let yourself move with the art. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, that sounds so pretentious, but but it's like
No.
been such a nice thing. So I totally feel you. It can be tough when you sit on things for too long, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're not pretentious. We're just creative brains. We have creative
Like you
brains.
just have to like make the art and you, oh, so silly.
Like when you talk in that voice, then yeah, it sounds better. Yeah. No. Yeah, totally. But like, yeah, as you said, it's like good to have a side project. And like you continue to release music on the desert as well. I noticed like Snow Club came out.
That's actually
Um
such a funny little side story. It got placed in a Hallmark movie, and
okay.
the people that watched the movie were like, I tried to Shazam this and like can't listen to it. And so my team and I just decided like, let's just put it out under Deza and like let it ride. Cause honestly, I can't, I don't know that I'll release anything else as Deza. I don't have any plans to at the moment. It's,
Yeah.
which is, I think, fine by me. But it was a nice
Yeah.
place to put that little Hallmark snippet
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
don't know where else to put it, but it was great.
Yeah. But you have like these two different worlds and you can decide
Yeah,
where to put which. So that's really nice as
definitely.
yourself the creator, and I think the not consumer, but like the listener or your fans will probably, go with anything really. Like,
Yeah.
look at me, like I've been a fan of Dessa and I followed City Sickness and now I'm here at Googly Eyes and talking with you about your latest EP.
Which I love. I love that.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to talk over the songs? Um
Yeah.
or we could just go with my questions and then, we could talk about the songs anyway, but like not in order, like a bit more fun.
Ooh. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'll do whatever. I would love to do
Okay.
whatever your vibe is. So I'm here.
Okay. So I wanted to ask, so for listeners, the four tracks are Sex Cells, Get Over Yourself, Kid, Personal, and Clean Sheets. And there's a side note, Get Over Yourself, Kid is my You're on Your Own Kid. Like
Thank you.
this is honestly, yeah.
I love Miss Tay, but thank you. That's great.
Yes. What would you say is your favorite track of EP?
I have to say, I think Sex Sells is probably my favorite. It just feels so well rounded to me. Like I'm really proud of the way the production and everything turned out on that one, I think.
Yeah.
And story wise, like felt really good. But it's one of those things where I think it changes from time to time. It
Yeah.
depends on which one I listen to last.
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed wasn't Sex Cells the first song you kind of teased? Like I remember you posted in your stories and I replied to it and then like 4 months later it was real. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh nice. Like I can actually re-listen to it. Yeah.
Literally. Yeah. Sex Cells I think was like the first of the four to probably to be finalized. I don't know if I started it first, but it was definitely the one that was like leading the charge. Usually when I
Yeah.
make these groups of songs, there's one or two that's kind of like this is the centerpiece of the project, and then there's, the secondary and the tertiary songs that I just kind of add on because they feel like they round out the project. But Sex Cells I think was like the centerpiece of this one for me, and that
Yes.
and that was really really nice.
Nice. Yeah. I'm obsessed with the song. I've listened to it like about probably 50 to 80 times
Yes.
already.
I love that. That's my favorite.
Yeah, it's just also the lyrics are just so like relatable. Like not only the line of like right friends and friends of friends of them are becoming
Yeah.
famous, but also like everything I wanted kind of changes, and that feels very true to like yeah, like finally someone says it, right?
It is such a weird time that we're living in, I think, because
Hmm.
like, oh, that sounds so pretentious again, but like everybody has the opportunity now to be an entertainer. It's not social media anymore. It's all entertainment media. And
Yes.
so like you and everyone else around you has become a performer. And so like that Bo Burnham talks a little bit about that, where like everything just becomes a performance. And I think like you end up watching a lot of your friends, especially when you're in a creative industry, like succeed at
Yeah.
the thing they're doing. If you're lucky, you get to see your friends succeed. And like it's such a beautiful thing, but it's just painful, right? It's that comparison game that's
Hmm.
so easy to like plot yourself in. Um
Yeah.
and then as you get older too, at least for me, feeling like goals that I had when I was 16 that
Yeah.
I always thought would be a part of my identity, feeling those shift has been so bizarre and
Yes.
unsettling. But coming to terms with it has been so lovely as well. I don't know.
Nice. Yeah. I've been feeling that a lot lately because
Mm,
I really like I always wanted to move to New York City, and I've not gone there yet. Like I've not visited yet because I'm living on the other like overseas. But I'm planning a trip in the fall, and like but what I've noticed is that I probably want to spend there like maybe a couple of months, but I
yeah,
cannot picture myself living there anymore, which is so interesting because like I've written poems about how I wanted to sit on those fire escape
yeah.
stairs and just live my life, and now I'm like maybe not. That's
And
so
that's
wild.
it is so wild. And on top of that, I think, at least again, speaking for myself, like there was a lot of shame wrapped up in my
Yes.
goals changing and a lot of feeling like a failure if I didn't want to be
Yeah.
this huge, just, if or realizing that a goal has maybe passed you by. Like I'm not gonna be a child prodigy anymore, and that's fine. And like,
Yeah.
and I don't know, trying to like release myself of that shame of your goals changing, I think has
Yeah.
been a process for me for the last year for sure. It's weird, such a weird place.
It is truly. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. So anyway, just wanted to tell you
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like the song has been really like, especially the line. Like I always start dancing to it automatically and just push out
Thanks.
all this energy that I have currently.
I love that so much. Thank you.
Yes. So yeah, when was the first time you kind of felt that song? Or like what was the first lyric line that came up?
The first one that came to mind was the all of my friends and their friends are becoming famous.
Yeah.
I think and then quickly followed by that second line, all the things
Yeah.
I want have started changing. I think it is, like I said, just watching all of your people
Yeah.
succeed. And when you're young, you're like, that's going to be me. And then you realize slowly that it might not.
Hmm.
And maybe you don't even want that anymore. And so that's kind of where the soul of the song started. Um, and then it slowly morphed into what it is now.
Yes, nice. Yeah. No, totally. I sometimes see that with my people I'm interviewing because I'm quite known for interviewing just like indie artists or like smaller artists. As I said, I interviewed once Chappell Roan, but
She's amazing.
obviously, like,
Amazing.
no, she's like this huge pop
Superstar.
star.
And she deserves every little bit of it, man. She's
Yes,
so good. Oh, I'm
yes,
obsessed with Chapel. She's fantastic.
yes, yes. But it's so interesting uh, to see how my people like I'm having this podcast for 4 years now already, so it's wild to see how people change and like do different things and see them grow and evolve. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Oh, that's
wow.
got to be so cool.
Yeah, it is truly, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm still the music journalist that goes to local bands shows and like it's like, hey, I have a podcast, do you want to be on there? And now sometimes they're like, oh my god, you interviewed like these big bands, and I'm like, well, they weren't big when I interviewed them, but yeah, you could be one of like you could be the next.
That could be you.
Yeah, maybe because it's kind of a channel,
That's
you
right.
don't
That's
know.
right.
Yeah, I don't know who's listening to my podcast. So yeah, totally love that line. Yeah. But let me look at my script and also the time. um, yes. Is there any song on the EP that you find is underrated or underappreciated? I mean, it's been out for like 5 days now, but
It's
you
so
know,
true though, because there always is one. I mean, it's funny because people do tend to listen in chronological order, and so I think the tail end of the projects always kind of lose. lose some love. They've stayed pretty consistent, I think, but you do see some drop off. And I think personal actually out of the four is probably the most at least slept on at this moment. I think that song is very personal, for lack
Yeah,
of a better term, and I hope it gets the love it deserves over the next few weeks, but we'll see.
yeah. I so you're talking about clean sheets? Yeah.
I think personal is probably the most.
Oh,
Yeah, but
right.
but clean sheets is
Yes.
in a close second.
Right. No, I was like confused because like obviously the song is called Personal, but I was like, I don't know. I just understood the word correctly. I'm sorry.
No, 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 no. You're totally fine.
I was like, did she say this title already? And then I was like, maybe it's Clean Sheets because it's the last song of the EP. But
It is true. That's true.
yeah, no, yeah, I definitely feel that with Personal as well. Like it's the like yeah, like Clean Sheets is in your mind because like it's the end of the EP and then Sexcel starts again, and then
Yeah.
obviously, as I said, Get Over Yourself Kid is kind of
Ugh,
my own
everybody, I
kid.
love that. I think that's the one that's been connecting with people the most, which I absolutely
Yeah,
love because that one's like probably the strangest out of the three. So that
yeah,
feels really good that people are liking it.
yeah. It's also good music to just put on when you
Mhm.
work and just
Yeah,
just have something on. Like I
totally.
always work with music, and so URP is like genius for that. But yeah, it's like Personal is the song. Like when it comes on, you're like, oh yeah, right, that's also in this EP,
Yeah.
and then it's just hitting home like the most, and you're like, oh okay, let's take a deep breath, and then let's continue to work. So yeah, um, I like that. Yeah, totally. If you're listening to this and you haven't listened to the EP, listener, you should give Personal a listen first.
It's good. It's good.
Start the EP with Personal. That would be an interesting. I think it would be a complete different listening
I
experience.
know.
But like,
I always struggle to know what order to put them in, but I think I
yeah,
defer to like putting the ones first that
yeah,
centerpieces usually go first for me, which is
yes,
really great.
yeah,
Because I know people will kind of tap out maybe and or we'll lose a few people. So I like to give the good ones up front at least right now. But
yes,
we'll see, maybe I'll switch it up next time.
yeah, and like maybe Personal just stays the underrated
Yeah.
banger that all people are like, why are you not listening to this one?
Always one.
Yeah. Um. Okay. How much time do you have? I know this is scheduled for like 10 more minutes.
I have all day, so we're good.
Okay. Because I've got so many questions. I didn't realize that when I made them.
No, I'm so here for all of it.
All right. I wanted to talk with you a bit about no, wait, let's stay with the EP for a bit, for a little longer. So I'm interested in how long did it take to make the EP? And you said you self-produce everything of
Yeah.
the videos, which is just impressive. But yeah, how long
Thank
did it
you.
take?
I mean, ooh, that's a good question. I think probably a few months, honestly, because I think the fun thing about Googly is I'm working at any given time with maybe like 20 to 30 gem starts of ideas, and then
Yeah,
um, I usually will pick a few out of the collection and then group that, finish them out, and then put it as an EP. And then we'll go back to the gems and we'll grab some more and we'll finish them out. So I think it's very cyclical and a lot of the sections of work overlap.
yeah,
But probably in total 4 or 5 months, maybe. I
nice.
usually move quick.
Yeah, I like that. No, I like that. And I mean, it's 4 songs, so 4 months
Yeah.
is really quick. Like if you think about it, yeah.
um, I
um,
want to get it out, you know?
yeah, and I think it's been like October, November when you first posted that story, which I talked about. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, usually
so
it takes yeah, usually I've been working on something for about a month before I post it. That seems to be the kind of rule of
yeah,
thumb I've chosen.
nice. Yeah. I'm interested. When do you know? I mean, obviously, as you said, there can be like pro and cons to doing everything yourself, and
Yeah.
I am a perfectionist myself, so I was wondering, when do you know, like, this is done?
Honestly, I wish I had a little bit more perfectionism in me because I think I
Okay.
I am on the opposite end of that spectrum where I'm like, this is perfect. I've worked on it for 10 minutes and it's done. And
I
a lot of
love that.
times,
I'm jealous.
I mean, sometimes it's good, but then sometimes I like have to actively remind myself, like, no, let's go back in on this and let's make it work. I think
Right.
for me, I've always followed my gut feeling. It's very loud. And so it just kind of lets me know when it's done. I try to not overproduce things. I think that's an easy pit to fall into. I fall into
Yeah.
it often. But I think I'm trying to make sure I stay simple with it, and if it sounds
Yeah.
done to me, if it feels done to me, I'm like, you know what? Let's just rock it and I'll make something else next month and just kind of keep the train moving. So
Yeah, right. I love that. That's a good attitude. I need to I'm going to export that audio quick clip and then I'm going to listen to it every single time I'm sitting down to write.
somewhere in the middle is perfection, right? Like where you're balancing the hard work of perfection
Yeah.
and this gut feeling thing. I think I wish I had a bit more thought process sometimes. So I'm, somewhere in the middle is the right answer.
Yeah. um yeah, I this is so impressive that you self-produce
Thank
it.
you.
I know I've had a couple of um fellow female music producers on here, like who also self-produce their own music, and so I know that's kind of an audience section of people who listen to this podcast. So maybe can you tell a bit how you got into it and
Yeah,
what keeps you going like while doing it?
totally. I mean, I got my first DAW as a high school graduation gift. So my parents got me FL Studio when I was 18, and I was working on a PC at the time. And like, just slowly developing it over the years has been probably the most fun actually out of all of the processes. I think it's the one I was weakest at and still probably am out of the three when I consider my artistry, my songwriting, and my production work. Like it's been such a good outlet to grow
Hmm.
and like truly see the difference in where I was 5 years ago and where I am now. Like I don't know, I think, man, that means I've probably made so many productions over the years that are just absolutely so terrible. But it's like I think as a woman being able to make your own production is so fun and such an
Hmm.
asset because I think, if you look at the stats, there's not a ton of us. And I think the numbers are
Yeah.
growing, which is fantastic. But as more women start to pick it up, but I think the thing that keeps me in it is being able to make my own music and like
Yeah.
being able to bring an idea to life is so amazing. Having something in your head and getting to make it real is just so otherworldly and
Yeah.
will never not be cool to me.
Nice. Yeah. So how did you learn it? So when you got the DAW, did you just play around? That's what I
Yeah.
did with audio editing podcasts.
A lot of it is learning by doing. Googly is I think a big step in that direction too. Cause like now I'm learning by doing on the mixing side and on, and I'm
Mm.
just throwing myself into the fire by
Yeah.
trial, basically. I think it's always been more learning by doing than anything. I was lucky enough to go to a few music schools where we talked about production. And
Mm.
then I got to watch a lot of brilliant producers work. And that's been incredibly helpful, kind of peeking my head over their shoulders and being like, what did you just do to that synth
Yeah.
that made it sound so nice? And getting to pick up tips and tricks. People are often eager to share their tricks. And
Yeah.
so being
Right.
aware of that and being confident enough to ask has been very helpful, but mostly
Nice.
learning by doing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's so yeah, that's such an interesting because we're always like, oh, I cannot ask, like they won't tell me. But like if you don't ask, you don't know. Like
Yeah.
just give it a shot. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Honestly. That's been life changing the past year for me. Just
Yeah.
ask. Like the worst you can get is like no.
Mm,
So like
absolutely.
or no answer at all, like that's also fine. Like I always whenever I like send out emails and pitch to other
Yeah.
like bigger artists, right, when I have to email the manager, i'm
Yeah.
like I'm like, if I don't do this now, I will never know. Like so
100%.
just do it.
100%.
Yeah, honestly, good. Um, where do you get your inspiration? Like, where do you get your inspiration? And are the lyrics first there, and then the music, or the music first and the lyrics second?
Hmm.
That's a big question, but
No, that's
like,
a great question. I think
take your time. You need to think about
oftentimes
it.
oftentimes lyrics come first for me. I they happen kind of separately actually. I have a bank, as many songwriters do, of like phrases that come up or things people say
Yeah,
that I find intriguing. Um, and then I'm normally starting little production gems on the side that usually begin without lyrics. And then sometimes it's about playing connect the dots between what idea belongs to what production.
yeah.
Because I feel like they sometimes happen at the same time. It's not as often as it used to be, I think. But in terms of where I get my inspiration from, these days it's been a lot of just paying attention to the world. I think I've said that before, but like the gut feeling in me is always quite strong if I'm
Yeah.
listening to it and tuned into it. And so, it'll kind of point me in the right direction. And then I think just creatively getting a lot of inspiration from like listening to comedy interview podcasts, truly,
Oh,
like
nice.
other creatives, and listening
Yeah.
to their process and letting that fuel me in my music process has been really helpful in the last few months actually.
Nice. Yeah. That's been one of my goals with this podcast, and having a music section and like a normal section, like in
Yeah.
air quotes. Just because like the creative process is so similar. Like, even if
Mm,
you're like, if your industries are like miles apart, but like it's so
100%.
similar.
And it's
Yeah.
so, for me, I can get so burned out on music related content sometimes when you live
Mm.
and breathe it. And so it's nice to step into another creative industry because you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. The process is so similar and they have different insights on how things are done. And it's just, I find
Yeah.
it so insightful.
Yeah. That's why I love, like, I've heard a lot that musicians love films, just
Mm,
because it kind of takes off, like they watching some other creatives doing work and stuff
yes,
like that. So yeah,
definitely.
I've heard that a lot, actually, that like musicians watch more films than they actually listen to music, just because.
I think
Yeah,
that's true.
but I get it. I'm watching more films as I read books as well. So,
Yeah.
or I listen, right? Like, I listen to so much music. I'm
Mm,
always over, like, I have this new app on my phone which tells me every week how many minutes I've listened, and
amazing.
I'm
That's
always so
amazing.
shocked because it's always like over 800 minutes, and I'm like, that's a half day.
That's, I only listened to 3,000 minutes of music last year. Like total over the whole
Wow.
year. So you're like crushing me at this point.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah,
I
that's
love
like
that.
a third of my daily count, like weekly count. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So I totally get the diving into other, and yeah, as you said, you learn so much from it.
Absolutely.
Do you know the Creative Independent? I think it's
I
called.
don't.
It's a newspaper. I will send you the link afterwards. But
Yeah,
they
please do.
interview all kinds of creatives, and usually only around, like, they're never really about their projects, just about the creative process. And so sometimes if you read those, like I'm reading those and I don't even know the profession, and then at the end it's like something completely different, and I pictured them being a musician or something, and it's like so fun.
That is
Yeah.
so cool. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out.
Yes, I sent you that. It's been a that's where I'm getting my inspiration lately from.
That's good. That's really cool.
Yeah. Um, nice. Okay, to wrap it up, I was wondering, if you could send the EP, so like the 4 songs, to any artist, dead or alive, knowing they would listen to it, who would it be? And would you wish they would give feedback, or just be like, "Oh, I liked it"?
Oh man. Ooh. Ooh. So many people come to mind. I think the first is probably like a Caroline Polachek or like Danny Harl, that kind of crew over there would be incredible just to hear their thoughts and
Yeah.
kind of. You're always like, tell me one person. I'm like, here's 8, but I
Yeah,
think
no, go for it.
like Flume would be so cool to hear what he
Mm,
has to say. Tovlo, I think would be amazing.
yeah.
I think honestly, I don't know if I'd want their honest feedback. It would hurt me because I know what they would say, I think already, but I
Yeah.
think I would want their true feedback on it.
Nice.
I just admire their creative world so much that, or Sylvan Esso, that would be another huge one that I'd love thoughts on, ears on. But
Yeah.
one day,
When you Yeah, one day. When you mentioned Tovlo, it reminded Tovlo.
I
Yeah,
love
right.
her.
I remember that actually I discovered you when I was when I was in my Tovlo area. And I just remember that back then when I found you, because you're also a songwriter for other artists as well. So you kind of reminded me of like how Tovlo had started out. So I
That
just wanted
is
to tell you that.
the biggest compliment. I love Toblo so much. And
Yes.
yeah, she's amazing. So thank you. I'm gonna carry that with me. I love that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Put it on the mirror and read
Yeah,
it every day.
amen.
Yeah. Okay. To at the end, do you have any honorable mentions you wanna make? Anyone you wanna say thank you?
Thank you to Rachel Bachner for like helping me start this project. I
Yeah.
think like having friends and people in your corner to support you when you do something kind of on your own is so important. And
Yeah.
like having Rachel, I have another friend, Kelsey, call her Kelso, and like she's just been incredible with this whole thing too, where just so comforting in a lot of their words to me. So I thank you to those two girls and to all the people that carried on from Deza to Googly with me. I think I owe you guys all a big thanks because
Boop boop.
I just love being able to like shape shift and have you guys come with. So I think it's been really, really fun. And I'm excited to see what we do
Yes.
next.
Yeah. I'm so excited. I mean, I'm still obsessed. Like, I'm still married to 22, 25.
Yeah.
But give me 6 months and I'll be hyped if you bring someone else around the
Yeah.
corner. I'll marry
I'm
them.
sure there will be more.
Yeah. Okay. This was nice.
This was great. Thank you so much.